Hey, what's up everyone? This is Snackbox. Hope you all are having an amazing day. Guys, in this video, I want to talk about my chimera runs for this week. I want to talk about the trials, and I ran into a serious bug that really got me confused. I actually managed to replicate that bug, and I have some recordings which I'm going to show you. And I think I figured out what is causing this bug to happen. But before we jump into that, I want to talk about the trials and the team that I used real quick. This week was really tough in terms of trials. I tried to get as many mythical relic mats as I could. And in the end, I got 13 mythical mats per key. Now that is actually pretty much on the lower side, but I still went for, a double ultra nightmare key to maximize the amount of mythical mats that I get. Even if I get 13, I'm still cool with that. I managed to get 8 billion plus, like 8.7 billion, 8.8 actually, clash points. So that was also pretty good. So if I can maintain, a couple of mythical mats and get 8 billion clash points at the same time, that sounds pretty good to me. So this is the team that I used. Really similar to the team that I used before that, like last week. I just swapped out, I think it was our base for Firo. And the reason for that is that Firo enables one of those trials on the Viper form that give you mythical mats. I used Harima here for the decrease attack because that's also a must-have for these trials. So let's talk about the trials that were needed for the mythical mats this week. So on the Ram farm, there were 5 mythical mats available, and you can get those on trials number 3 on the hard one, right? So you have to have decreased defense and perfect whale on your team. The perfect whale comes from Firo, the decreased defense from Lydia. Then you have to place 6 unique debuffs on the Chimera and 6 unique buffs on your champions within 2 of the Chimera's turns. And then you need to block 7 stun debuffs using block debuffs, intercept, or stone skin within 5 of the Chimera's turns. Now this is pretty important. The last part, you can only complete it in 1 cycle. So if you block like 3 or 4 or like whatever stuns, like a lower amount than 7 on the first cycle, it's going to be reset on the second cycle. So you have to start over again. That means we need to complete the first 2 trials in the first cycle so we can be able to complete the hard trial in the second cycle. Because the Ram form only uses this skill twice where she tries to stun. So that is pretty important. Now on the Lion form, we actually have the biggest amount of mythical mats available this week, or we had this week. By the time this video comes out, you probably already have the reset, and the trials are in a different place. And these line form trials are actually the hardest for me to get a team for. We have 4 mythical mats on the trials number 1, on the hard trial, and there we have to block damage using block damage or unkillable buffs. Now, there are not a lot of champions that can do that, and the good ones that can do this are either mythicals or a unity champion. So, Alaz, Fina, right? So, there are different ones that can do this too. Theodosia has also unkillable, but this is really hard to get, especially when you try to complete trials number 3 as well, where you have to get leech, decrease resistance, and then reflect damage with like reflect damage buffs, passives, or pain link. And there are not a lot of champions that are suitable for Chimera that are doing these things, right? Like pain link is in the game for about a year or longer than a year, actually. We only have 1 legendary champion that can do this, and he just got released like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. And this is actually a pretty solid champion for Chimera trials, I think, right? I love the look. He looks like one of the frogs from Naruto. And yeah, so he can actually place Pain Link. He also can place Decrease Resistance, and he places Decrease Speed at the same time. Now these debuffs are protected as well. So yeah, this is pretty amazing, to be honest. And then he heals for each debuff placed. So he has a 15% max HP heal of his max HP. So that's pretty good. Then on the A1, he has a chance to place Leech and he can steal a buff. And then he also has block debuffs for all allies and heals again. And then at the same time, if the Chimera is debuffing, he can replace them and can mirror the debuffs into buffs, right? So that's pretty awesome. I think this is probably one of my most wanted champions right now for Chimera trials. I don't know, his rating is kind of low, but I think he's amazing. I think he does so many things and just opens up other comps, right? Or mythical mats, those trials that reward mythical mats. He enables those because he does so many things. And we actually need more champions like this because it's really hard to come up with something if you don't have, specific champions like mythicals. If you don't have a lot of mythicals, it's really hard to get some of these trials. But, they're releasing more and more champions. We got Balar. He's like one of them, one of those champions that enable some of these trials and new comps. So as I said, this frog enables all the debuffs that you need for this trial number 3 on the line form, which is pretty amazing. If you don't have this champion, and if you don't have Gizmak, it's really hard to come up with something that can complete both of these trial chains. So I completely ignored the whole section right here with my team. Now on the Viper form, we have another 8 mythical mats, and this is actually where it got pretty interesting for me. So I tried to focus on trials number 3. So we need decreased attack, we need increased speed. So we got decreased attack from Harima, we got increased speed from Lydia and Siphi. Then I need to damage the Chimera while my champions are under increased attack and block debuffs. So I have that from Mikage and I have that from Siphi. And then we need to resist 20 debuffs while the Chimera is under decreased accuracy. And your champions are under increased resistance. And that's why Firil is in there. He basically covers the hard trial, right? He has the decreased accuracy on his A2 and his increased resistance on his A3. But anyway, the Viper form and this trial is kind of where all things went crazy and I got super confused the first time. So let me actually show you my recordings. So here you can see the Chimera changes forms to the Viper form, right? And normally, the Viper form starts at 25 or by the end of 25, so from 26 to 30, and then it should go back to the ultimate form. But the thing here is every time, or it seems like that, actually every time I would complete the trial where I have to resist 20 debuffs, the Viper form bugs out for some reason. They were able to see it. I completed this trial right here. Resist 20 debuffs while the Chimera is under decreased accuracy and your champions are under increased resistance. And every time I completed this one, the Viper form would just completely bug out, like not change forms. I can't place debuffs anymore. Now it's turn 30, so it's still possible. But here you can see, now it should swap forms right after they take a turn. So full turn meter, turn 30, turn 31, and we're still in the Viper form. And you can almost see my reaction on my cursor here, because I'm kind of like stumbling. I don't know like what is happening. It's turn 31 and we still got the Viper form. I don't know why this is happening, but I mean, I know what is triggering it, but I don't know what it has to do with, swapping forms. I can't explain it to myself, but, that seems the thing that is triggering it, this trial that I'm completing right there with the resists. And it's also not a visual bug. As you can see, the Viper form is actually using like the Viper form skills. What I noticed though is that I'm only able to place debuffs sometimes. I don't know why, like, I don't get when I'm able to place them, but here I was able. But here you can see that I'm not able to place any debuffs anymore. So it's really weird. A lot of weird stuff going on during this bug. So Viral has a 100% chance to place his decreased speed. It didn't place it at all. It also didn't say resist. So it's really weird. And then on turn 35, so we had 10 turns of the Viper form, it switches straight into the Ram form. And that was super confusing to me because I still had to complete one of the mythical mat trial on the Ram form, and that completely threw me off. Like it was so weird. And I actually was able to do it again. Like here you can see it. I completed this trial again with the resisted 20 debuffs. And now the Viper form should change forms, but it doesn't. It's just not doing it. But this time it was also a little bit different. So sometimes I was still able to place debuffs, like I said, that was the same. Sometimes not. Sometimes it just wouldn't do it. But the thing that was different is that now it didn't even swap to the Ram form at turn 36. So now it went over turn 35. Like it skipped another form transition mechanic, basically. And then on turn 37, that's where it swapped forms into the Ram form. So we went from 25 to 36 in the Viper form, and then on 37, it swapped into the Ram form. So that was, again, super confusing because now it did a whole different thing. But I got one more, and this was actually the run that I kept in the end because I completed all the trials that I wanted. I got the 13 mythical mats, right? That's what I went for. And here I actually completed the last trial, the resist 20 debuffs trial on the Viper form on like the last cycle, on the second cycle, right? So this is, turn 60. This is like when it swaps the forms for the last time into the ultimate form, the last 5 turns of the chimera. And it should go into the ultimate form, but it just didn't. Like again, I completed the trial, resisted the 20 debuffs, and the Viper form doesn't swap forms. So I had the Viper form for the last 5 turns, which was also pretty unusual. Here you can see it. I completed the trial right before that. I'm almost 100% sure it has to do with with the trials or with the buffs and the debuffs, but I'm pretty sure it has to do with the trial for some reason. It is not swapping forms and doing weird stuff. Because also at the same time, like the Viper form is not swapping forms, but why am I able to place debuffs sometimes and sometimes I'm not? So that the whole thing just doesn't make sense to me. And I hope Plarium sees this and will fix this because it really costs me a lot of time to, retry those runs because I really have to have the full 5 turns for the Ram form, for example, to complete one of these trials. So I hope they're going to fix it as soon as possible. So yeah, but anyway, in the end, this was the last run that I did. 240 million damage, 4.16 billion clash points. The other run actually did more, like 4.7 billion clash points. I think the reason for that is that I completed some of the trials earlier than I did in this run. It was just RNG, I guess. But I got 13 mythical mats on both runs, 20 legendary, 7 epic, 26 rare, and 1 gemstone. It was like 11 trials, I believe. So yeah, 11 trials. And yeah, that's what I kept in the end. Disgusting week for trials, to be honest. I was brainstorming a lot, trying to get something to work that can get like 20 mats at least, but I just don't have the champs for it. Hopefully I can pull some in the future. That maybe make my life easier for that, but yeah, we will see. I hope the next week is going to be easier with the trials. But yeah, that's about it for this video, guys. I just wanted to show you this bug and my team for this week. Overall, I'm pretty happy since I still was able to manage the 8 billion clash points and also maintain some mythical mats. So after all, it was still a good chimera week, but it was pretty tough in terms of trials and the bug was really bugging me. It cost me a couple of hours to do this just because of the bug. But yeah, anyway, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed, please hit the like button. It really goes a long way. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And the algorithm is going to suggest you a video that you might like right here. And yeah, see you in the next one.